So Season 2 has officially kicked off, guys, and last night when the update went live, I essentially locked myself into my office and played for about nearly 5 hours straight. I played a bunch of games on the new map, both Conquest and Breakthrough. I've already unlocked the M16 and the M60 as well as all of the new weapons from the Battle Pass as well. I've spent a fair bit of time playing as Crawford, and so I've got a fair idea so far of how I feel about all the new content, and today we're going to be going over my thoughts on Update 2.0 and essentially just the start of Season 2. Now, before we get into it, there is actually plenty of really exciting content on the way over the next couple of weeks. I've got about 5 or 6 different videos planned all around the brand new content. I've got a couple of actual rant videos that I've got planned for some of the stuff that I really don't agree with in this game, but luckily most of the stuff from this update and in the game in general, I actually feel like it's in a pretty solid place. So there's going to be a lot of really fun content on the way. If you guys are new to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. But with that being said, let's get stuck into my thoughts on Season 2 so far. So starting off with, for me personally, the most important element of this season so far, and that is Stranded, the new map. As for me personally, the maps are pretty much the most exciting part, and they're by far the most important element of the game, especially with how, poorly designed some of the base maps are. We really do need some really good maps in this game, and so every time a new map drops, I'm always super keen to jump into it. The same was the case with Exposure. That was the #1 thing in Season 1 that I was looking forward to, and luckily for Season 1, I thought Exposure was by far the best map in the game, and it was not only just a good map for Battlefield 2042, but it was just a good map for Battlefield in general. I genuinely think Exposure would have handled itself well if you put it in, say, Battlefield 4, for example. It's probably on par with a lot of those maps, and so obviously heading into Season 2, it had some sort of big shoes to fill because the last map was really good, and the maps prior to that were all, I think we'd all agree they're not that great. So I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit worried, but after, like I said, probably 4 or 5 hours of playtime, I can safely say this is yet another banger of a map. And for me, it actually might be on par, if not even more enjoyable than Exposure, which I definitely didn't think I'd be saying. But yeah, this map is just essentially designed exactly how I like my Battlefield maps. Now, the key area to that for me is that it is a lot smaller than most of the other maps, if not pretty much every map. I'd say maybe Kaleidoscope might be slightly smaller, but without actually knowing, I dare say it's probably one of the smallest maps in the game. And for me, that is where most of the enjoyment comes from, because you don't have to run 5 kilometers to get to the next flag, and it just kind of condenses all of that chaos into a much smaller area, which obviously makes it more chaotic. If you've got a lot of chaos going on, but it's spread out across a massive map, then it's really not actually that chaotic. But when you really do condense that into a small area, it makes it really chaotic, and it makes it, like I said, a lot easier to actually get to those engagements. Now, the other area of the map that I really do enjoy is that it does have, similar to Exposure, a lot of different mixes of engagement types. So there's obviously inside of the boat, there is a lot of really close quarters combat, which is what I personally prefer most of the time. Not all the time. If you've got maps that are just all super close quarters, it gets pretty frustrating at times, but considering we have kind of been starved of those close quarters engagements through all of the base maps, that is what I've been really itching for, is just some really close quarters chaotic gameplay, similar to stuff like Operation Locker from Battlefield 4, for example. And this map definitely has that in spades. The entire ship, even up on top of the ship, even though that's a little bit more open, there is still a lot of close quarters engagements there. However, for those of you guys who don't really enjoy that close quarters gameplay, there's still plenty of different alternatives to gameplay styles on the outside of the boat. All of the other 4 flags in Conquest, for example, they all have a lot of open areas, but they do also then have some condensed areas at those flags as well. So it's a really good mix, in my opinion, of the center of the map just being absolute carnage, but then on the outside it does actually have a really good mix of still some more close quarters areas, but also some wider open areas. There's a bit of verticality as well, so if you like sniping, it is a viable map to snipe on. There's a lot of different areas for vehicles, and I just think they've really nailed that sort of mix of having something for every single play style. If you like running around with a shotgun, you can do that. If you like running around with a sniper, you can do that. If you like playing as a vehicle, you can do that. And if you really don't enjoy vehicles and you want to hide from them, then you can obviously go in the inside of the boat as well. So overall, I'm absolutely in love with Stranded so far. I do think this is actually on par for me with Exposure. It maybe doesn't look as nice, and it's probably not as unique as Exposure, so Exposure probably gets a few brownie points there, but I think in terms of just the flow of the map and the way that it plays, I do honestly think it is as good of a map as Exposure, and that's something I definitely didn't think I would be saying heading into this season. Now, moving on to the weapons, like I said, I played a hell of a lot last night, and I pretty much grinded my ass off to try and unlock the M16 and the M60, and then essentially once the Battle Pass went live, I actually just bought all the tiers to actually get to the Advances, which I know to a lot of people probably sounds like a massive waste of money because I'm going to just unlock them anyway, but as a creator, obviously it's just smart to get those out of the way early. I don't have to grind for them now. I can just try and level them up and play with them. So I've got all 5 of those weapons unlocked. I've played a fair bit of time with all of them. I haven't really used the advances too much, and I haven't used the M60 too much either, but I've pretty much spammed the AM40 for the whole time that I was playing. The PF51, the new pistol, I've essentially equipped that on every single class that I made because there is essentially no point using any other pistol at this point. And then I also ran the M16 quite a bit as well, and that was really enjoyable. Now, in terms of pretty much all of them, they all seem pretty balanced so far. Now, granted, I haven't unlocked attachments for all of them, obviously, so maybe once I kind of upgrade the weapons and they become a bit stronger, maybe they'll turn out to be a little bit overpowered. I'm not too sure. I have heard a lot of people saying in the early playtest that the AM40 was kind of feeling like it was going to be the meta weapon, so maybe that will turn out to be a little bit overpowered, but at least as of right now, they all feel pretty balanced. None of them feel weak and none of them feel too strong, so they feel like they're in a pretty good spot right now. I'm sure they will need some tweaks here and there, but overall, very happy with them. They're enjoyable to use, they're balanced, and yeah, they're a nice little variety as well, because obviously last season we got the BSVM, which yeah, it can be used in close quarters, but it is a marksman rifle, and then we also got the crossbow too, which is good fun, but it's essentially like a sniper in a way. So to get some more like, you know, assault rifle or LMG type weapons, that was definitely very exciting. Now, just touching on those as well, I have actually got a few guides on the way for all of those weapons. Until I get the stats, I can't actually do the regular weapon breakdown, so that may still be a few months away until I can actually do the proper weapon breakdowns for all of those weapons. But in the coming days, I'm going to start making a few videos on just like the best loadouts to use and how to play with these weapons. So if you're looking for some help with how to play with these new guns, then definitely keep your eyes peeled on the channel for those videos. Now, the last sort of key thing for this update, obviously there's all the battle pass and like a lot of changes and stuff, but in terms of content, the last sort of big piece to the puzzle was Crawford. And I'm not going to lie, when I actually saw the trailer, I instantly just went, oh no, this guy looks kind of boring. He has to be stationary, and I'm a very aggressive player, so as soon as I saw Crawford, I just thought, I'm not going to enjoy this guy. But I can actually say that after playing him for a few hours last night, he's actually a lot more enjoyable than I thought he would be. Although you do have to be stationary, obviously, to use the turret, you can actually still play him pretty aggressively because he does have the fast revive similar to Falk and Angel, so you can actually run around like a medic essentially. And yeah, he's actually really fun to play. And one thing that I've found with Crawford as well is that even though the turret is stationary, you can actually play like super aggressively, and then when you need to say fall back and you're running into a room and you know that someone's going to be chasing you in there, you can actually quickly set up that turret and sort of pre-aim the door and almost lure people in to essentially rain down bullets on them with that turret. So even though on paper he seems like a very like campy type of character, and I'm sure you can camp with him quite a bit, I actually had a heap of fun playing with Crawford in a bit of a like aggressive type of playstyle. So he's definitely surprised me. I was not looking forward to playing Crawford all that much, to be honest, and to be completely fair, in a month from now I don't think I'll be using Crawford every single game, but he has pleasantly surprised me. And on top of that, he also seems pretty balanced as well. I think the turret, it looked like it could have been either really overpowered or completely useless, but how it is now, it feels like it's very usable. If you use it in the right situation, you can actually do pretty well with it, but it's not overpowered. It has a lot of spray, so it's pretty inaccurate, and it also doesn't deal that much damage. If you have a clear line of sight on an enemy who's at like medium range, you'll generally get the kill there, but then at long range, for example, you can still get kills, but it does give the enemy a chance to sort of get away from that engagement. And so yeah, so far at least anyway, he definitely feels fairly balanced. Now lastly, just touching on I guess the update overall, so not so much the content but the sort of patch side of things, the different changes and all that kind of thing. The SMG nerf, I will say, is a little bit, I guess, disappointing. Now granted, the SMGs have been pretty much dominant since launch. There are some weapons like the M5A3 for example is really solid, but I would imagine the SMG class like statistically would be the best weapon class in the game so far. So I do think they needed just a slight nerf, but the way that they have nerfed them, it does feel a little bit too much at times. Now the nerf really only happened through the headshots. They've reduced the headshot multiplier to I think 1.25 times damage, so if your gun deals 10 damage, then if you land a headshot, it'll only deal 12.5 damage, for example. So that's a pretty big drop off considering it used to be 2.0 and now it is 1.25. And then on top of that, the ARs actually got a 0.15 increase as well, so they're now 2.15. So it is a pretty big change, but in saying that, it is only headshots as well. It's not like they've lowered the damage in general. So if you're landing body shots, the SMGs are still very viable. It's not like they're completely useless or something, but you can notice that when you're landing headshots, if you're fighting an AR at close range, for example, if they land headshots, you're going to lose that at close range. So it does feel maybe a little bit too far. I think they should maybe rein it back to like 1.5 times or something like that. But every other change that they've made seems to be pretty solid so far. There's nothing broken from what I've seen. I haven't seen any issues. The performance of the game feels like it's pretty decent still. I was worried with 2 tornadoes now, and you know, so many players packed into close areas like in the inside of the boat. I was a little bit worried that the performance wouldn't be that great, but it doesn't seem like it's affected at all. Now that's from me playing on the Series X. I can't really speak for PC. I haven't played it on the PC just yet, and in saying that, my PC is not the best anyway. It's more built for editing, so I generally just play on low settings anyway. So let me know your thoughts on the performance and just the update in general. But for me personally, the update has gone down pretty well. There's no issues at all that I've come across so far, and like I've mentioned, all of the content so far is really solid in my opinion. There's nothing that I am looking at and going, oh, this is underwhelming, or you know, one of the weapons is super overpowered or something like that. All of the content seems to be in a really good spot, and it's all pretty fun to play with it as well. So overall, a big fan of this update. They are once again headed in the right direction. Now, the issue with Season 1 was that the first update was really solid and it was really exciting, and then it just kind of like dwindled away by the end of the season because there's not that much extra content on the way. And so I do hope that in update 2.1 and 2.2 we do get just a little bit more than we got last season. Obviously we're getting the map reworks. There are potentially a few other portal weapons that are going to be added throughout the season, so there is going to be a little bit more content, but hopefully they just kind of keep it exciting throughout the season, because that was really the only issue with Season 1. But like I said, overall I'm very happy with this season so far. I'm keen to hear what you guys think though, so be sure to leave your comments down in the comment section and let me know whether you guys enjoyed the season, whether the stuff is a little bit underwhelming or anything like that. I'm always very keen to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. If you're new to the channel, then definitely hit that subscribe button, and if you want to support the content that I make here on YouTube, then consider becoming a channel member. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there on the battlefield.